How can ending the pandemic be the top accomplishment of the White House?
Well, look, I think the president took leadership on this issue very early on when so many on the left refused to acknowledge it. We remember Nancy Pelosi in Chinatown saying this wasn't a real thing. We remember Governor Cuomo leaving his state open days after the rest of the country began to lock down. This president has understood that this virus was traveling through the world. It was unprecedented. It was unforeseen. Unleashed on this global community by China.
Do you think the White House has ended it?
The World Health Organization lied about all the malfeasance and even covered it up.
I'm not talking about fighting it. I'm talking about ending it. Do you think that the pandemic has ended?
Right. Well, we're moving in the right direction. I think that's what the president's been talking about on the campaign trail. We're seeing a reduction in deaths by 70%. From
almost 1,000 people still died. I mean,
that's great
Hogan,
news.
I'm just talking about the language. Why does it say as the top accomplishment ending the COVID-19 pandemic? Do you think it has ended?
I didn't write the document. I don't know who said that.
But you think that's erroneous?
Not saying that on the campaign trail.
Okay, so that
I don't
part's
know.
wrong.
I've not seen the document.
No, but I mean, I'm reading it to you.
I'm just telling you we're moving in the right direction.
But
we're moving in the right
if the
direction
document said
thanks
ending,
to the president's leadership
that
on
would
the
be
issue.
wrong.
I'm not looking at the document. I don't know what the document says or how it characterizes the word ending, but I'm not going to quibble over semantics. The fact is we're moving in the right direction.
Well, it's
what
just
we can't
the
do is
conclusion.
afford
It's
to
not
shut this country back down again, which is exactly what Joe Biden is trying to do.
You know
And the American people don't deserve that, and
Fine.
they can't handle another shutdown across this country.
Apparently, someone in the Trump campaign decided that what Trump needed was his own George W. Bush mission accomplished moment. Because here we are, 9 months into a pandemic that's still not been contained, with 225,000 dead Americans, 8% unemployment, 11 million jobs lost, and the message from the White House is congratulations, we did it. This came in the aftermath of the White House's Office of Science and Technology Policy releasing a document this week that included ending the COVID-19 pandemic as one of the Trump administration's first-term accomplishments. So that we are clear, not only is the pandemic not ended, but it's reaching its worst point ever in the United States. The 7-day average of daily new cases just hit a record of almost 70,000 last week. And the day before this very document was released, the US hit a record 75,000 cases just that day. Although maybe we have a fundamental disagreement over what the word ended means. Most telling is Hogan Gidley trying to defend himself by claiming that he doesn't know what the document says, despite the fact that Alison Camerota literally reads it to him. She even says, quote, "I'm reading it to you." But that's the thing. This administration is trying to play both sides of the coin. When it comes to their supporters, they traffic in one universe where they've convinced them that the pandemic is over, if it even really existed at all, and that you can take off your masks and pack into Trump rallies and go back to work and send your kids back to school. But in the other universe, reality, they'll just pretend that they don't know who wrote that document and that they'll have to look into it and that they have no other comment on the matter. Their lies aren't a bug, they're a feature. So no, this administration has not ended the pandemic, they've exacerbated it. No matter what spin they try to put on this crisis, just remember the facts. When the virus first reached our shores, the only priority of the president was to pretend that it didn't exist. He wouldn't let a cruise ship with sick Americans aboard dock because he didn't want his numbers to go up.
They would like to have the people come off. I'd rather have the people stay, but I'd go with them. I told them to make the final decision. I would rather, because I like the numbers being where they are. I don't need to have the numbers double because of one ship. That wasn't our fault. And it wasn't the fault of the people on the ship either. Okay? It wasn't their fault either. And they're mostly Americans, so I can live either way with it. I'd rather have them stay on, personally.
He pretended that it was contained, that cases were on their way down to zero, that it would miraculously disappear, that it would go away with the heat. He knew the truth and admitted as such to Bob Woodward, but publicly he downplayed it.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but you know, it's a very tricky situation.
Indeed,
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. You know, the touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. You know, people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing?
This
is more deadly. This is 5 per, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
And when he should have been taking swift action to contain it, like coordinating a nationwide testing and contact tracing plan, and mandating mask use, and advocating for stay-at-home orders, Trump did the opposite. He pretended that we already had plenty of testing, he politicized masks, he fomented protests against stay-at-home orders. And even after he himself caught the virus because of his recklessness, he continued to hold rallies. Even after his own friend and advisor Herman Cain caught coronavirus at his Tulsa rally and died shortly thereafter, still Trump carried on like everything was fine. Because there is nothing and no one that Donald Trump won't sacrifice in his desperation to retain his grip on power. The point here is simple. Only one of the two candidates running for president is taking this virus seriously. Only one candidate is willing to be honest with the American people. Only one candidate will acknowledge the dangers posed to this country. And the other candidate, Donald Trump, is only concerned with painting a rosy picture so he'll get reelected and pretending that the worst is behind us. But it's that very denialism that landed us here in the first place. And that's what will ensure this virus continues to spread if he isn't voted out of office. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.